Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum students of class 9. Today we are going to discuss a question from your unit number 2, solving a biological problem. Study of malaria, an example of biological method. The question arises that what is malaria, how is it caused, what are the treatments of malaria, how can we deal with its outbreak. So this is a biological problem, and in order to solve it we are using biological method for it. So we know that the malaria is one of the most common diseases in many countries, including Pakistan. Malaria are caused by Anopheles mosquito, and people who use nets and mosquito killers, so it is less prone to those, and it is transmitted through blood. So it is also a fever, type of a fever. So let's further discuss it. According to histories of ancient times, more than 2000 years ago, few physicians were familiar of malaria, and they said that it is a basically kind of a fever, temperature that has chilled effects on the body. And observations were made that it is common among those people who live in low standard areas and marshy areas where there is dirty and filthy water and stagnant water, and that area and the air of that area is bad and pungent, and they believe that this is the cause of malaria, and that bad air led to its name as well. It is an Italian name in which mala means bad and area means air. So mala, area, bad air. So further observing that whether it's a true concept or not, few volunteers were allowed to sit in marshy areas, and all of them did not develop malaria. So that led to an observation that all of the people living near marshy areas do not develop malaria. So in the 17th century, America discovered that many plants are helpful for the treatment of certain diseases. For medicinal purpose, they sent some plants to Europe and use them as drugs and cure for certain diseases. So in that era, it was discovered that the bark is the trunk of a tree known as quina, has certain material that is suitable for curing fevers and temperatures. So that was a discovery of that time, older times. Another study said that the bark of cinchona plant is also found to be excellent for treating malaria. So quina and cinchona were known as effective for treating the disease of malaria at that time. So after 200 years, it was also found that there's a in the blood sample of human being there are certain living organisms that are basically the cause of malaria. So 200 years later, a scientist in 1878, Laveran, who was in Air Force or Army at that time, he led to the study of malaria and said that in human blood, he took sample from human blood and studied under the microscope that there are some tiny organisms present in the blood of patients who are having malaria, and he named those tiny organisms as plasmodium. So According to the observations of the study, again, we in the 19th century we discovered that malaria and marshy areas have some common relation. Quinine is an effective drug for treating malaria in the bark of cinchona and quina, and drinking water of marshy and dirty areas basically does not cause malaria, but it is caused by tiny organisms known as plasmodium. So the hypothesis made in this case was that plasmodium is the cause of malaria. Here you can see the internal structure of plasmodium, cause of malaria. Now the deduction. In deduction, I told you earlier we use the concept of if and then. If this is the cause, then what would be the result? If that is the cause, then what would be the result? So the concept of if and then. If plasmodium is the cause of malaria, then all the people who are sick due to malaria must have plasmodium in their blood. So that is why the experiment was conducted, and Leveran conducted an experiment of 100 malarial patients, and he studied their blood samples, and plasmodium was developed or found in every person's blood. On the other hand, he also ran an experiment that was a control group experiment in which he took 100 healthy people and then he took samples, and then he studied and found out that there are 7 people among those 100 who are having plasmodium in their blood, but that plasmodium was in its incubation period, was not active, was in the stages where malarial symptoms did not appear in their body. So that discovered that all patients having plasmodium in their blood do not have malaria. So the result that plasmodium is the cause of malaria, and mosquito is the vector of malaria. Any object or organism that is used for the transfer and carrying of a disease or an organism from one person to another is known as a vector. So mosquito is the vector and plasmodium is the cause of malaria. That is our result of the biological problem. I hope you understood it very well. You have to learn the question, write it for practice, and learn its short question and answers as well. Thank you.